public input before approval. I'm Sean Murphy. When news breaks, we break in.
Walk softly and carry a giant sledgehammer.
Fear not death, for the hour of your doom is set, and none may escape it.
The voice of freedom, Lee Elci, on 94.9 News Now.
All right, here we go, everyone. We are broadcasting on all kinds of different networks. Of course, terrestrial radio has us, loud and proud, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Long Island. You can download the app. That's crystal clear audio. You can take us anywhere. That's around the world. We have people listening as far away as Brazil this morning, which is always a lot of fun. You can watch us on Rumble. Just type in my name on Rumble. You can go to Talk Red Media and find us there as well. So all kinds of different outlets that we call home, and we appreciate you being along for the ride. Also appreciate our next guest. We've chatted with her a number of times. And today, maybe we'll dig a little deeper. Betsy McCoy is running for governor here in the state of Connecticut. Betsy, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Lee. And I'm so glad you asked me, as you did offline, well, tell us a little bit more about your life, what you do.
Yeah.
And I thought I would start with my real passion, the mission that has driven me for the last 20 years. And that is to stop hospital infections. It's probably something many of you don't know about me, but actually I founded an organization called Reduce Infection Deaths about 21 years ago. And it's headquartered right here in Connecticut, but it's a national organization. We've been told we save more lives per dollar spent than any other charity. And our mission is to make sure that patients do not get hospital infections. Hospital infections are one of the biggest killers in America. They literally kill more people each year than car accidents and breast cancer combined.
So, listen, I lost a friend, had the same thing happen to him. He went to the hospital. He had an infection. He died like 2 days later. So this is a real thing. I didn't know this about you. So what drove you to this? How did you want to be a champion of this?
Well, last time I was in public office, which was a long time ago, 1995, people came to me with many kinds of health problems. My writings on healthcare had launched me unexpectedly into that job, right? I wasn't a career politician. I got drafted, literally, to be lieutenant governor of New York State because of my writings that defeated Hillary care. So while I was in office, it was very natural that people would write to me or call me with their healthcare problems. And increasingly, I noticed it was one version or another of the same problem over and over again. People would say, I brought my mother or my father, or maybe it was their spouse or their child to the hospital, and the patient contracted a deadly infection. So when I left office, I vowed I was going to do something about this. And after doing some research, I realized that we had already back then many, many opportunities to prevent these infections. We had the knowledge. What was lacking was the will to do it. And so I launched RID, Reduce Infection Deaths. And our first job was to raise public awareness that when the hospital said this is the cost of doing business, wrong. These are preventable and unacceptable. And at the time, not one state required hospitals to disclose their infection rate. Now, we're up to 38 states. 38 states require hospitals to at least tell the truth about how many infections they have. And we're heading toward all 50. And that's only right. If you have to go to the hospital, you should know which hospital in your area has the best or worst infection rate, right?
Absolutely. That's common. Should be common sense that we would want that. What's the biggest cause of these infections?
Oh, now I'm glad you asked. So I'm going to answer a question with a question. If I were to ask you, what do you think is the number one predictor of who gets a hospital infection? Is it their age? No. Is it the diagnosis or illness or injury that brought them to the hospital? No. The number one predictor of who gets a hospital infection, what room they're assigned to, what bed they're put in, because the preceding patient, even 2 or 3 weeks before, was discharged, but their germs weren't. They were left behind on the bed rail, on the call button, on the TV controls, on that table that goes over your bed and slides back and forth. Poor hospital cleaning is the number one. I'll give you an example. The Columbia School of Nursing did a study, and it showed that if you're put in a room where the preceding patient had an infection, your risk of getting that infection goes up 583%, almost sixfold. And that it doesn't matter whether it's methicillin, Staphylococcus aureus, Clostridium difficile, vancomycin-resistant enterococcus, Candida auris, whatever it is, all those bad boys, you get it by touching or being exposed to germs left behind by other patients.
That's, first of all, it's so preventable. That's a terrible.
So preventable. And that's why when you see something that kills over 100,000 Americans a year and it's preventable, you race to do something about it.
Right.
And that's what we've been doing. So we've been advocating very, 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 very hard for better cleaning in the hospitals and exposure of the hospital infection rates. But we've also come to the rescue of patients. For example, see this brochure, 15 steps to reduce your risk. It sounds a lot. We give this away all across America. It's been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Ladies Home Journal, AARP, everywhere. They reprint these 15 steps, which are not old wives' tales. These are real science, things you can do. And I'm going to give you an example that's in here that will knock your socks off. The number one infection is called C. diff, Clostridium difficile. And Robert Ornstein out at the Mayo Clinic found that if you wipe the high-touch surfaces right around the patient's bed once a day with a bleach wipe, like a Clorox bleach wipe, you can reduce the incidence of this killer 86%. So why isn't every hospital doing that, right? You know what this 15 step says? If you're going to the hospital to visit a friend or a relative, forget the flowers, forget the candy, bring a canister of bleach wipes and a pair of gloves and wipe those surfaces. You could be saving their life. You know, wipe the call button, wipe the over the bed table.
How about the people that go and visit people in the hospital? Are they inclined to get infection too?
I was talking, and this happened in Connecticut, but I was talking with a woman about a decade ago. She went to the hospital to visit a friend. She went into the bathroom. She washed her hands with a bar of soap that was sitting on the little soap dish, and she got a very bad infection, and they had to amputate her thumb. Right?
That's incredible. I mean, all right. So, what do the hospitals say when you challenge them on this?
Well, when I first founded RID, they were hoping I'd be run over by a dump truck.
Okay.
But over the years, they've become far more cooperative. They've admitted infection is not the cost of doing the business of medicine. These infections are preventable, and it's unacceptable. For example, Lee, before I founded RID, you didn't see those Purell containers, those hand sanitizer containers inside and outside every patient's room. They weren't there. They weren't there. But we said it's unacceptable that physicians and nurses and other caregivers neglect to wash their hands in between patients half the time, right? So now they're there. Now hospitals are really stressing hand hygiene. Okay. Now hospitals actually sometimes require doctors and nurses to wear a device on their uniform that measures how often they clean their hands before entering another patient's room.
Betsy McCoy is with us. We're learning something. I didn't know anything about this, so thank you for sharing some of this stuff. What's the best or the best and worst hospitals in the state of Connecticut? You're at liberty to say which ones are.
Well, I can tell you, of course, it changes a bit year to year. And if you come to our website, hospitalinfection.org, this isn't political, not asking for donations or anything. You can save your life coming to this website. We show you how, no matter what state you're in, you can find out what the infection rates are. I'll tell you some of the great hospitals. It's easier to go that way. Stanford Hospital, one of the best in America, because Stanford Hospital is the infection control department until very recently was led by Dr. Michael Perry, a world famous infection preventer. So when they built a new hospital, they made sure that the push plates on the doors were copper. Copper kills bacteria, right? They made sure that the bed rails, they made sure that they had single rooms, because you're much safer in a single room than in a double room. Unfortunately, caregivers walk into a double room and they care for one patient and then move to the next bed without cleaning their hands. See, so the double rooms are dangerous. And so Stanford Hospital is one of the very, very best in the state.
Very good. Betsy McCoy
That's
with
why
us.
I picked my family.
Well, it's good to know that. And basically, I would definitely advocate for folks to go to that website to find out which hospitals are cleaner than others. By the way, you're making fans all over the place, social media. One of your new fans is Joe. Joe writes in, I love this lady. She's awesome. There's a movie called Heart on Fire where they talk about keeping a room clean and with a burn victim, and the kid survives because of it. So I don't know if you know that movie, but
let me tell you a story about that. I'm so glad, Joe, that you said that, because burn victims are especially vulnerable. And there was a case of a burn victim down in the burn unit in Galveston, Texas. And there was a big outbreak of VRE, vancomycin-resistant enterococcus. And they did everything they could to find the source of it, right? And they cleaned the burn unit. And then another patient came down with VRE. And they found the source. It was an EKG wire. You know how they put those tabs on your chest and they drape the wires? That EKG wire hadn't been used in 45 days.
Wow.
That's how long the bacteria lasted on that wire. And then they draped it over this burn victim and he got VRE. So this is really critical, the cleaning. The cleaning is critical.
That's incredible. That's an incredible story. Betsy McCoy, she's running for governor here in the state of Connecticut. We're just trying
and the hospitals will be the cleanest in America. Let me tell you.
So listen, you shared the website for your charity, your advocacy group. What about your gubernatorial website?
This guy is a pro. Lee, he's the one who ought to be running for office, because of course I would forget to do that. It's Betsy2026.com. And today or tomorrow, we're launching my first ad.
Oh, okay. All
right. It's a radio ad. I don't know whether you have time to hear it, but I got it on myself.
Play it.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I made it myself, like I do everything. Right? Okay. So just 1 second.
All right. So this is the brand new ad that's coming out soon. Or tomorrow, she says.
Yeah, wait a second.
That's okay. We got time.
I reported it yesterday in Farmington.
All right. Betsy McCoy is with us. She's finding her commercial that she wants to play for everyone.
Here it is. Are you ready?
Yep.
It's tax time, Connecticut. Ask the tax. Connecticut residents have to pay as much as 6.6% of their earnings to the state. Ask the tax. If you make over $100,000, you're paying as much as $6,600. Ask the tax. If you make over $200,000, you could be paying as much as $13,000. I'm Betsy McCoy, Republican running for governor of Connecticut, and I'm going to eliminate the state income tax. States with no income tax are flourishing. States with high income taxes like Connecticut are in an economic death spiral. My proposal, as state revenues go up, require that every dollar goes to one purpose, axing the tax. No new spending, no new programs until we axe the tax. Donate to Betsy2026.com. That's BETSY2026.com to eliminate Connecticut's income tax. I'm Betsy McCoy, Republican running for governor, and I approve this message.
There you go. That was good.
Hey! Yep, I really like that. I made that myself.
There you go. So now that'll be hitting the airwaves, I'm sure, everywhere pretty soon. So that's very good. By the way, are you going to the Capitol today? There's a March for Life, and I don't know if everybody knows where you stand on that issue.
Oh, I better look into that. I'm doing something else today, but there's always time for that. And I wanted to mention that I was talking to Dr. Ben Carson yesterday, who's one of my heroes, and he said to me, if you could do for the economy of Connecticut what you did for healthcare in America, I'm with you. Isn't that nice?
That's good. He'd be a good guy to come out and put in your commercials.
Yes, he would. He is a real national hero.
All right, Betsy McCoy with us, running for governor. All right, we have time maybe for one more topic. Is there something else you want to tackle?
Yeah, well, I wanted to talk a little bit about why people run for office.
Okay.
You
Why
said
do
to
they
me
run for
offline, let's open up the shades a bit and say we talk offline, and Lee said to me, I don't want you to just talk about your policies tomorrow. I want you to say a little bit more about what makes you who you are.
Right.
And I was thinking about that. I was thinking about my childhood. I grew up very, very close by in Milford and Westport. And I used to go to the public library there. It was right on the bridge halfway from school to home. So I would stop and look in the public library. And I used to go through the card catalog. Remember, we don't have those anymore, but the card catalog. And I would think someday I'm going to write some books that will be in the card catalog.
Good.
I always thought I would be a college professor. Never thought I would be a politician.
That was your dream as a child, a college professor?
Yeah, it was. It was. I always thought that I would write some books that would be in the card catalog.
And so how did you get into – so you started writing, again, as you had just told us, and that sort of drafted you into be a lieutenant governor in New York. So that sort of must have been a whirlwind for you then.
It was. I was a professor, and then I went to a think tank. I was writing a book on constitutional issues. That's what my PhD is in.
Right.
And one day I was reading the paper and I started reading about the Clinton health plan. And I could tell it was on the front page of the New York Times. I could tell that the reporter hadn't actually read the plan. So I got a copy of it sent from one of the congressional offices, and I took it home that night. And when I read it, I was so shocked. It was so radical, truly radical. For example, it would have set an annual national health care budget. And if there was a flu epidemic, for example, and more people got sick, I remember the phrase, mandatory, non-discretionary, stopping the spending, right? They wouldn't let the government spend more, even if people were dying. Right? So I decided I got to do something about this. So I wrote a series of articles about the dangers of the Clinton health plan. I didn't know the Clintons, so I put the page number from the bill next to each paragraph so people would know I didn't have an axe to grind. And when that article in the New Republic hit the stands, the Democrats in Congress were so shocked about what was actually in the bill that they took it off the floor without a vote.
Wow.
They did. That was the end. It was over. You'd think they would have read it, but you know what Nancy Pelosi says, you have to be practical to know what's in it.
That's right.
So, Al D'Amato and George Pataki, who were getting ready to launch a gubernatorial campaign that year, saw me speaking in various places, holding up the bill and explaining what was in it and how dangerous it was. And I finally met with Al D'Amato one day. He kept calling, and so I said, okay. And I met with him, and he said, you really ought to go into politics. You really ought to go into politics. So I said, okay, I'd like to be controller. He said, no, Lieutenant Governor, and they nominated me the next week. So... And I'll tell you, when I took the oath of office, my first time in Albany.
Oh, really?
So it's a very exciting 4 years, a lot of opportunity to get good things done. I sponsored a bill called the Patient Fair Appeals Act that guaranteed that when patients are turned down for a treatment because it's experimental, they have a right to go outside their insurance company to doctors who have no axe to grind financially, and who will decide whether they could benefit from this treatment. And that's become a model all across the nation.
You think our health care is savable right now? Because I feel like...
oh, yes. We could do great things in Connecticut that are being done in other states. They're already being done in other states. For example, I want to make sure that people don't get turned down arbitrarily for coverage. Here's what happens. Before Obamacare, insurance companies only turned down claims 1.5%. Now they're up to 15%. Some insurance companies deny 30% of their claims.
Yep.
You're not insured if you don't know whether they're going to actually pay, right?
Yeah.
Right. So many states, including Tennessee, are changing that and limiting how insurance companies can deny claims. And more than that, they're limiting this prior authorization. That's a real racket. You go to the doctor prescribes something, a medication or an operation, and then you're told you have to wait until the insurance company approves. Well, it should be automatic, because your doctor, the expert who examined you, knows what you need, right? So many states are limiting prior authorizations. They give you a 48-hour window. If you don't hear back from that insurance company within 48 hours, you are automatically covered.
I like that. That's good. That's good. All right, Betsy, I'm running out of time. It was really fun getting a chance to at least to learn some new stuff about you. One more time, where do they go to find out about your political side, and maybe if they want to throw you a few bucks, where do they go?
Right, Betsy2026.com. Donations appreciated.
Well, listen, I'll talk to you again soon. Have a great day, and we appreciate it. All right.
Thank you.
We'll be right back, everybody. Stick around.